Hey everyone, welcome to Car Review. Today we're going to do a no spoiler review of the movie The Suicide Squad. So let's get into it. So I just got done seeing The Suicide Squad and this movie is freaking crazy. It's bat crap crazy. It's so weird, and not only in just like a cool, creative, kind of fun and spunky way, but it's also just really weird. Weird to the point that it's honestly kind of hard to like recommend. And this movie always had kind of a weird flavor to it, I think, from the very beginning. I mean, even with the title, and people might not care about the title or whatever, but I do, because I remember back in 2016, 17, we got Suicide Squad, directed by David Ayer, and you can, read online about how that might not be his movie, or that might not be his cut of the movie, and how there's an Ayer cut similar to how there's a Snyder cut of Justice League, whatever. But we're talking about the 2021 version. And then this new take on the Suicide Squad mythology of the band of characters that go on suicide missions in the DC universe, and they call it the Suicide Squad. So you could tell that there was this type of rebranding, rebuild, restructuring that DC and Warner Brothers wanted to do, because they recognized the potential of the Suicide Squad as a brand, very similar to how Marvel has the Guardians of the Galaxy with their quirkiness and their wacky adventures with a roster that could potentially grow and rotate. You have that same formula built in with the Suicide Squad, and their new movie plays into that very, very strongly, even to the movie's fault. It's very expressive, it's very bloody and gory and adult, and there's honestly much more of a look, we can do this, so we're gonna do it, as opposed to like a story and narrative structure. You look at something like Deadpool and the way that movie is structured around its vulgarity and its violence and its humor, that very much plays into the character of Deadpool. Even similar with the Harley Quinn movie Birds of Prey. You have her being this literal clownish, over-the-top, bombastic character, captured in that world. I very much think that the Birds of Prey movie is DC's answer to the Deadpool movie. And I love that movie. I think Birds of Prey and Deadpool are both great, but it very much feels like the Suicide Squad tried to meld that together and then expand it into a large roster of characters, as opposed to having one central character. And they just do so much that it's overwhelming. And it's so much to the point that the movie doesn't feel very cohesive. Without giving spoilers, you follow many different perspectives. You're constantly jumping from characters to different locations, to different time periods, and that's fun, that's zany, but at some point you need to have this line. And if there is a line, it was at least hard to follow for me. And I see a lot of movies and I'm really invested in this stuff, and I just found it to be just nuts. And what I was really hoping was that James Gunn would bring his humor to the table and just have this be just an amazing, stuff popcorn in your face, laugh out loud type movie, and it just wasn't that. In fact, I saw this in a relatively full theater and there were hardly any laughs, and in a relatively full theater, the excuse of, well, it's just not that taste of humor, or, well, you might not know people are going to laugh at, when literally 90% of the jokes don't make some kind of reaction from the audience, that's bad. And when a joke doesn't produce a reaction, whether good or bad, I mean, that is, those seconds of dead space just feel like eternity, and it's noticeable. It was noticeable silence in the theater I was in. When a joke would happen in the movie, there'd be a pause, a breath in the movie to let the audience laugh, but no one would laugh. There was almost it was almost like the gap in between heartbeats. It was really weird to explain. And the entire movie just felt like it wanted to go here and there and just everywhere. I feel like Warner Brothers and James Gunn, when they got together and they said we're going to do this, they just said let's literally go all out. And you hear that on a lot of movies. We wanted to just do a fun experiment. There were no barriers. You hear that all the time, but of course there are some restraints. Whereas this, though, I literally don't know. Because it almost seems like James Gunn just got his friends and his buddies together and said, let's make a movie. And then Warner Brothers said, that's a good idea. Why don't you put our characters in that? It doesn't feel like a very, symmetrical fit. It doesn't. They don't mesh well together. And people might really appreciate that almost kind of film school, down and gritty, just colorful, expensive nonsense on screen. But I don't think this will have the resonating power that the first Suicide Squad movie had, because that movie, not real great, but it made hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, just off the top of my head, I think it made over 700, even close to 800 million, and I mean, we were all there when that movie came out. I mean, Harley Quinn and Joker, like Hot Topic t-shirts were flying off the shelves. We all wanted to be those characters for Halloween, and we all wanted to be a part of that cultural shift, and that was what that movie was gonna do, regardless if it was good or bad, and you can say what you will about its quality, but the original Suicide Squad movie had a cultural impact. This, though, I don't know what it's gonna be. If it has a cultural impact, it's just gonna be to further push artistic creativity, filmmaker driven creativity inside of the comic book superhero genre, which is good, because that means we'll get more movies like Deadpool, more like Logan, more like the Snyder Cut. We'll get more movies like this. But beyond that, it's not great, And is it good? I really don't know. My mom, I saw this movie with my mom, because we love these superhero movies together. We see them together all the time. We both walked down. She said, "Did you like it?" And I said, "I think so." And then I asked her, "Did you like it?" And she said, "I think so. At least I liked aspects of it." And that's the thing. There are parts of this movie you're gonna really enjoy. Visually, amazing. Combat, fun. Dialogue, for the most part, pretty okay. And again, the colorful pulpiness that it's trying to just cement itself in, it could be really cool, but it's so mushy and it's so loose that you can make it into whatever you want, or you can make it into nothing. And even though this is a spoiler-free review, this is incredibly ambiguous, because it really is a movie that you have to almost experience and then go, back and rewatch this. And I'm not trying to just beat around the bush, but it's hard to talk about even in a spoiler-filled setting, just because it's so abstract, it's so strange. I think this movie will develop more of a cult following than a mainstream success-based following, if that makes sense. If you want to see the movie, go and check it out. But I literally left the theater mouth open, and I was like, what was that? Like what was that? What, it was really surprising, and I'm not even sure if it was fully in a good way. Again, there are parts I really enjoy, characters I really enjoy. John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, Idris Elba, Margot Robbie, they all do great in their roles, and their characters are cool and interesting, and for the most part, they're pretty fun, but it wasn't what I was expecting, and I don't think this is what a lot of people are expecting. I think it'll be quite the opposite, because it goes off the rails and then in 10 different directions all at once. So it is a movie. Is it a good movie? Hard to say. Hard to say. But hey, if you go see it, I hope you love it. I hope you eat it up, and I hope it just becomes your new jam. Is it my new jam? No. I didn't like it, but I didn't dislike it either. It's just a movie, and I'm happy it's here, but I don't know how to feel about it. And I think that'll be the majority of the consensus going forward. But hey, if it's different, I hope to be part of that conversation, just as how we were part of the conversation when the original Suicide Squad movie came out. So that is my review of The Suicide Squad in 2021. If you like this video, comment, share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, peace.